Ajax Resources was created as a special purpose acquisition company. In April, it bought Puna Metals, which holds the mining rights for the Eureka project in Argentina. In June, it's listing on the Aquis Exchange, having previously resided on the main market of the LSE. To talk about the project and the fresh listing, we're delighted to be joined by the Chief Executive, Ippolito Cattaneo. So, Ippolito, a lot going on. You've bought the Eureka Gold and Copper project. Why make this project your first acquisition?
So thank you, Sarah. Very good to see you again. It has been 3 years since we last spoke. During this period, we've been very busy. We've traveled across various continents and visited innumerable projects. We came across Eureka after an extensive search, but it is the project that ticks all the boxes, or satisfies all the criteria we set ourselves in terms of acquisition profile. So it's an advanced gold and copper project, meaning that it has a lot of work already performed, and it has a past history of production. In fact, the first historic production took place during Incan times and was then subsequently followed in the 16th and 17th century by the Jesuits. And there was some production during the 20th century, and then Bezant acquired the project in 2010 for $4 million cash. They subsequently renegotiated that agreement to $2.6 million in cash in 2012 by accelerating the schedule of payments. And then Bezant underwent some changes, some board changes. Argentina also underwent a period of instability, of financial and political instability. Then we had COVID, which halted progress worldwide. And then today we have Ajax that has acquired Puna Metals, which is the 100% owned, was the 100% owned subsidiary of Bezant, and holds 12 licenses, which collectively comprise the Eureka Gold and Copper project. So Eureka has around 620,000 tons of copper. That's a non-JORC compliant estimate that has been made. And it has around 52,000 ounces of gold. So in terms of valuations, the copper is, using today's price, is about $5 billion plus worth of copper in the ground, and the 52,000 ounces equates to $150 million approximately. So those are big numbers, and our challenge and our objective will be to formalize those numbers by drilling and making those numbers JORC compliant, so that we can come back to the market with a real concrete valuation for the Eureka project.
Okay, because you've answered a lot of questions there. I was going to ask you how on earth you could value the project if Bezant hadn't actually done any work on it. Great that the Incas had produced from it, but that was an awful long time ago. So what makes you absolutely sure that you have those values in the ground?
So we did extensive due diligence when we were looking at this project. There are a number of studies that support those assessments. There was, in fact, when Bezant acquired the project in 2010, they commissioned a valuation report from Edison Research, which is a well-known research house in London and worldwide, and they valued the project at the time up to $81 million in terms of gold and copper resource and the exploration potential of the project. So that was at the time when copper and gold were significantly, they were priced much lower than they are today. So my assumption would be that number would be much higher today if we apply today's parameters. But the challenge and the goal is, as I said previously, to drill the project. The project has never been drilled, so Bezant acquired it and didn't really invest because they had there was a board change, and the people behind the acquisition were no longer involved with Bezant, and so unfortunately the project was never drilled. And that is a shame for them, but an opportunity for us, because we believe we've acquired a very interesting project, and we're at the right place at the right time.
Okay, so the right place, the right time. You mentioned there, though, that there was a period of flux within Argentina. That's where Eureka is located. Talk to me about Argentina as a mining jurisdiction now. Is it friendly? Have valuable relationships already been formulated?
So Argentina is a country I know quite well, having worked there previously, albeit in the oil and gas domain. The project is located in the Jujuy province, which is in the northwest of Argentina, which is the mining hotspot in terms of activity. So that there's a very favourable and supportive governmental stance towards mining. We've met with all the local authorities and we've had very positive interactions with them, and they've proven very supportive of our arrival and our desire to invest in the project and create employment and realize the potential that the Eureka project has, because they themselves have encouraged us by directing us to proceed, because there really is a lot of potential there. So we're very enthusiastic. Argentina as a nation is a country which has undergone transformational progress. It has a new government. Over a year ago, there was the new government of Javier Milei, who has transformed the nation. There's deregulation. The economy is performing much better. There's an increased confidence in Argentina. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to invest in Argentina, because we've seen that investor appetite is much stronger. In fact, it never has been stronger from international investors, because of the reforms which are currently being implemented by Javier Milei and are continuing to be implemented by the government.
So you mentioned earlier on that you checked out innumerable potential acquisitions, but what is it about Eureka? Why are you focusing on copper and gold? Because the current trend is seeking the holy grail of rare earths.
So our focus as a company, since we listed as a SPAC 3 years ago, was always to acquire a project which was a near-term revenue generator. We specifically didn't want to be the latest, the last in the long list of exploration companies with no revenue, periodically depending on the market to survive by raising funds. We want to be a cash-rich company that has organic growth and revenue, and so the Eureka project is a project that we believe is a low capex project that can generate revenue within 2 to 3 years. So there's historic production, there's a significant resource, and we believe that production, the mineralization is near surface. So we believe that production can be achieved in a low cost manner. And gold and copper have always been the metals we preferred, because they offer stable trajectories of pricing, and have a positive outlook. And copper, of course, there's not much to really add on copper. It's an essential metal which will be ever more required to fuel the electrification that we're seeing everywhere across the world. And in terms of the transition that the energy world is undergoing to a low carbon system, copper is an integral part of that. So in fact, it should be underlined that the Eureka project is a gold and copper project, but it is much more a copper project than a gold project. So we have the best of both worlds, because gold is always there, and the pricing is very favorable at this time, but it generally has been favorable over the last decade or so. But copper is very much has a very upward trajectory in terms of pricing.
So you want to be a cash-rich company, and is the preference for Ajax to be the sole operators of Eureka?
So yes, we do have a sole operator approach at this stage. Our intention is to realize the potential of Eureka, to get to to fulfill some of those numbers that we mentioned previously. The Edison 2010 report indicated $80 million. We would like to really succeed with Eureka and ensure that we paid only $170,000 for this acquisition, so less than a tenth of what Bezant paid for the deal back in 2012. So we want to show the market and prove to our investors who had confidence in us from day one that we've delivered on our mandates by completing a good deal. In fact, we've signed a second deal just recently, which is a conditional acquisition of Mina La Escondida. This was a strategic acquisition because Mina La Escondida, which is actually comprised of 2 licenses, Mina La Escondida 1 and Mina La Escondida 2. These are 2 licenses which are contiguous to Eureka. They're 100 meters from Eureka. So it made sense to acquire these now, extending our the mining rights we hold, meaning that the resource potential is much larger, because 2,500 hectares represents roughly a 30% increase in our portfolio in Argentina. And so we wanted to do this now, prior to potentially realizing the value of Eureka and having to pay much more at a later point. So it's taken us 3 years to get here, but we're being very effective now in terms of our deal flow. And between now and the next 12 months, we will be hopefully we will have published an MRE, mineral resource estimate, in compliance with JORC, which will concretely enable us to go back to the market and say we've acquired Eureka for $170,000, and here this is what it's worth now, which we expect to be a great many multiples of what we paid for it.
Okay, just a couple more questions, please. Looking at your development program, when do boots get on the ground? What's the aim for the first year?
So we're currently completing the environmental impact assessment, which is required in order to conduct any form of substantive activity. So that is something we hope to deliver and publish soon. That includes the work program, which will be phased in. There'll be 2 phases to it. There's an initial phase, which is trenching and geochemical analysis and drilling in approximately 3,000 meters of drilling. And that will start hopefully in the autumn. So it will be in October. That will have the start date of that. And then that will be followed by phase 2, which will be an additional 2,500 meters of drilling, which will be in early 2026, meaning that we will have the MRE published most likely by April of next year. So that is the timeline. We're also looking at some other deals in the region, but the key focus is Eureka, and so we're doing all the work we need to, in order to not have any delays and not to have any cost overruns, and to maintain the timelines that we set.
But there will be costs during this development period, which brings me to the fresh listing. Now, you have experience of being a main board LSE listed entity. Why are you moving to Aquis, and how much do you hope to raise when you list early June?
So we are moving to Aquis because for various reasons. One of the reasons is that the main market underwent a significant rule change in 2010, shortly before our listing, which meant that in order to readmit to the market following an RTO, a reverse takeover, we would have had to satisfy a 30 million market cap. That is something that we not only did we not want to achieve, but we couldn't achieve, because we want to get to the 30 million and above organically by delivering news and achieving, creating value for our shareholders. So to artificially, or to some way to find a way of creating that in order to satisfy that technical requirement was not something we wanted. So that meant that we had to leave that market, which was a shame, because it is a good market. But we found an equally good market, which is the Aquis market that we've known for some time, and it is a great and increasingly good avenue for small listed companies such as Ajax to deliver news, to create value for shareholders, and then to to begin their journey. So we very much like Aquis. Aquis has itself been undergoing a lot of change and progress. It's been acquired by a very big European group. So we expect our timing, our admission to Aquis, to be very well timed. We think it's a great time to enter to join the Aquis world, and we will be raising £1.5 million upon admission. That will complement our existing cash reserves. We raised 1.2 million in April 22. We were very frugal, very parsimonious with our financial resources. We had about £800,000 as of 2 weeks ago, and then we paid for Eureka. The $170,000 were paid using our existing cash reserves. So we have about 600,000 as of now, and that 1.5 will complement our past financial resources, and so we will be very well funded and fully funded for all the work necessary to get the MRE at Eureka.
So a lot going on, and parsimonious, what a beautiful word. Ippolito Cattaneo, Chief Executive of Ajax Resources, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.